Hey everybody, this is The Trout, aka Rick Troutman. Welcome to The Trout Show podcast. You know what I do? I interview musicians that are located all over this wonderful planet of ours that are very talented. Some of them you'll know, and some of them you may not know, but one thing I will tell you, you'll know about their life in the music industry. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee or your favorite adult beverage, and listen to our next episode coming up right now. Hey everybody, it's The Trout, and welcome to another episode of The Trout Show. And thank you so much for stopping by. The first thing that comes to mind in this episode is talking about a kind of music I've never really heard of before. It's called Mardi Gras Indian Funk. Now I kind of went, say what? Mardi Gras Indian Funk? I was asked by a good friend of mine to interview this band out of New Orleans called The Rumble. They're Grammy-Nominated, which even makes it more fun, the fact that they're up for a Grammy. But when he told me about them, I said, well, I got to look into this Mardi Gras Indian funk music. And I listened to them, and then I realized, oh, I really like this music. It makes you feel good, and I can't even explain it to you. If you've been to Mardi Gras, you know anything about New Orleans, jazz, all that stuff, the funkiness of it, that's exactly what the Rumble does. And I was pleasantly surprised when I got the opportunity to be able to interview two of the great players with this band, the keyboard player and the bass player. And they talked to me about how the band got started, but they were with the other band too that was very famous in that kind of music. And they traveled all over the world, and this band, the Rumble, is going to be doing the same thing. So I think you're going to like this episode. If you like Mardi Gras type music and you definitely like something that makes you feel good, then you're going to want to hear about the Rumble, Grammy-nominated group out of New Orleans, where they do Mardi Gras Indian Funk. So stay tuned, because that's up next on The Trout Show. When your PR guy sent me an email, and he sends me, we talk back and forth about people all the time, but when he sent me that, it was a Grammy-nominated band from New Orleans. And I told him, I wrote him back, I said, well, you had me at Grammy-nominated, but then the fact that you threw in New Orleans too, then it's like, oh, I got to hear them. What's this all about? So I immediately went, because I have a rule. The rule is very simple. If I don't like the band, I'm not going to interview them. Right. So it's, because people ask me and sometimes I go, no. So anyway, I went and listened. And of course, the album. So what category? I know it's a live album, but what category are you in? Do you guys know? For the
Grammy? We're in the regional roots, best regional roots record.
Regional roots.
Yes.
They've got so many areas now. I can't keep up with all of them.
Yeah, it's been mostly between like Louisiana artists and Hawaiian, and then some like Native American records, typically, like Appalachian music and stuff.
Call Americana stuff. We call Americana.
But it's like hyper specific Americana, because there is like Americana and more closely related to the folk stuff. And then there's like, like a specific in-group of Appalachian people or Native Americans, but lately it's been a lot of Louisiana artists.
And did both of you guys know each other before the band got started?
Yeah.
So whether you played in the other band or you played together or whatever.
So I don't know if you want to take this one, TJ.
Well, I was just going to say in regards to, almost everybody in the band knew each other just from being musicians on the scene before the other band or anything like that. So, which is what made us playing together, so fun, because there was a sense of familiarity. I'm not even going to try to say the word again.
I got it.
And
Y'all knew each other.
I'm not sure how much you know about the Rumble's specific backstory.
Well,
you know,
and we're going to get into that because everybody listening or watching this doesn't know, but I try to do as much research on everybody I can because I don't want to come on here and go like, what do you guys do? Because I know you play keyboards, you play bass, TJ,
Right.
so I already knew that. And you're from originally, the band was formed out of a Chawa, or what, I don't know how you guys say it and with the Cajun accent, but but tell me a little bit more. Go ahead. Tell me about how you guys all got together.
Well, I was basically we all a lot of us had known each other from different walks of life because all of us are, gigging regular musicians around New Orleans. So we had all been together in different bands, but we all really got very close when we were together as Chawa. We did multiple years of like pretty hardcore touring with the band, recorded records.
DJ's like, yeah.
Say that again. Yeah, there were some moments. By the time we had started the Rumble, the core, the seven of us, or the six of us, not including Trent, had been through the ringer together. Basically we'd been through it. Like the kind of things that a lot of bands that is the reason why a lot of bands don't make it through the bottleneck. We actually, in a sense, were lucky that we went through a lot of those challenges when we were, it wasn't like all on us, when we were essentially sidemen together.
So were you considered the hired guns?
Well, that's really
guys, I understand the business, so I didn't know whether you.
The hardest part about it is that when it was convenient, we were hired guns, and when it was convenient, we were band members.
Okay.
Right.
So, I understand.
But at the end of the day, we had no ownership.
Okay. That was in the Chawa band, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys travel out? You said you traveled tour. Did you go all over the states, or did you do regional, or what did you do?
Yeah.
All over?
Yeah, I mean, all over. Canada, Chawa's been in Asia.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I mean,
you guys you did hit the road, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then if it weren't for COVID, we would have hit Europe like
oh my gosh,
3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you a quick question. Separately, you can answer this question. Did you ever wake up one morning and go, "Where the hell am I?"
On tour?
Yeah,
that's a
daily thing.
Kind of a good,
yeah.
Especially when you're like a sideman, and it's funny because I always say this, like people always ask about the places you go and whatever, and it was like when I was booked for my first tour, I could tell you 4 months before we even left, you could name a date, and it was like a 3 tour I went on. And I was like, we're gonna be in Lawrence, Kansas, and we're playing this venue, But now 8 years in, it's like I can let you know tomorrow where I'll be.
Yeah.
I can't. I have to look at the schedule myself. I'm not even,
But I think the thing about it for you guys is the hardest thing, I think, and as I said, I've interviewed dozens of musicians, a lot of them tour Europe and the UK. But I think the hardest thing is for everybody that starts out, they all dream of this, right?
Yeah.
You're young, you're like, oh man, I want to go on tour. And then you go on tour and you're like, oh man, why am I doing this? And so I have
about every gas station between here and
bro.
Yeah. Where's the next bathroom stop?
Yeah, exactly.
But I remember, so I interviewed you all know who Joe Bonamassa is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I interviewed his drummer from the late 2000s, 2010, and in the summer. Nice guy. And he played Albert Hall, sold out Albert Hall in London. I mean, that's a pretty good gig you want to be known for, right? And the video is seen by millions of people. So I asked him what it was like. He did over 600 shows with Joe. And you guys appreciate it. His comment was, it's great for 2 hours.
The 2 hours that you're on stage.
Yeah.
That's what you're living for. You know what I mean? The other 22 to 23 hours, that's all for that 60 to 120 minutes that you're on stage, which is, it's a big commitment that a lot of people don't necessarily think about. They think it's all this like glitz and glamour. And, there are parts that really, there are parts that really feel like that and make it all worth it. And, times when, for instance, if we're up in Buffalo, like we try to go out and see Niagara Falls, and we try try to make sure to see the Grand Canyon, whatever, like little things. And I think that's actually so important when you are like road dogging, as they call it, like to really try and throw in a little bit of that balance, because otherwise it can get really grueling, and the other 23 hours start to weigh into the or whatever 22 hours start to weigh into the showtime, you know.
I mean, that's what you get paid for, but the glitz and glamour, and I don't want to stay on this very long, but the glitz and glamour is there to a certain degree, because nothing better than, look, you guys look like band guys. So, you know, walk off, people, hey, can I talk to you? You know, TJ, I want to talk to you. You know, so that's what's cool about it.
Right.
So let's go back to, I want to talk about it individually real quick.
Okay.
So did you start playing keyboards when you were young? How did you, or was that your first thing?
I've been playing keys since I was about I started taking lessons when I was like 5. Okay. I had an older sister who was taking piano lessons, and I would go after she would practice and pick out whatever she was working on the piano, and just by ear. And so then shortly after that, my sister got tired of it, and my parents then switched me over to lessons.
And what did you start learning how to play?
Started with classical, actually, and I did that for probably 5 or 6 years, and then I actually quit because I thought it was boring. I was like, all I can do is play notes on the page, and I didn't know, I hadn't been exposed to a lot of music that had keys as like in popular music, whatever. What was on the radio when I was growing up was like Green Day and Good Charlotte and whatever, you know. So and parents were,
so there wasn't any keys and that stuff. No.
Yeah, it was like classical music, and the Beatles was like really big in my house growing up.
Yeah.
There's some keys in there, but it wasn't until I was probably about 12, and I heard Ray Charles and Oscar Peterson, and I was like, you can do that with piano? Like that can be, you know, I had never heard that before, and so I had quit, you know, probably from like 10 or 11 till 13. And then I heard that, and immediately my love was like re-sparked, and I started, you know, playing again.
And so who was your biggest influence? I know you mentioned 2 right there, but I mean, let me rephrase it this way. Living or dead, which keyboard player would you love to talk to and meet?
I think probably Herbie Hancock, just because.
Oh, wow.
He has the most. He's done it all. He can. I mean, he's been a part of the creation of, you know, funk in a sense with the Headhunters. Yeah. He was a part of Miles's quintet,
which is what you guys play. So funk,
still going, and he's still, you know. But he did stuff with Joni Mitchell, and he's done. You know what I mean? He, like, to me, typifies like a person who just plays music to the highest level, and he, whatever it is, he's gonna play, and he has such like a Zen approach to life and music. I think if you had to ask me one, it's got to be Herbie, I think.
TJ, when do you start? And did you start playing the bass at the beginning? Or did you play guitar, or did you play something else?
No, so I played trombone, and I still play trombone.
Oh, okay.
That's my pedigree, I guess. I went to school. Both of my degrees are in jazz studies on trombone. But I picked up bass playing in church. Like, I always wanted to play the bass, and I played trombone in church. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, and our bass player, his family moved for work, and he left everything. I mean, like, he was like, "Yeah, I'll just come back and get it at some point," and he never did. So I picked up the bass at the church and just kind of played around. I knew where the notes were because I played trombone. But I was always in love with bass lines. Like, playing trombone, I was playing stuff on bass just up in the bass stuff, but in the trombone register. And
that's kind of really interesting to me, because, you know, it's kind of like, I think if you're a horn player, you kind of look at how do guitar player. I'm a lead guitar player. How do we play leads? And a lead guitar player goes, all right, how do you guys do? You know, how do you play it differently? Because, you know, we can put 3 or 4 notes together and all that stuff, but that's really kind of interesting for me to hear you say that, because it's
a lot of my
a little bit of both. They
come from bass-ish lines. Like I play a lot of like rhythmic stuff. That to me,
Are
I
you a
also
thumb guy? Do you do that? Do you do a lot of?
yeah, but I don't thump the way most like I like use my thumb as like palm muting a lot.
Okay.
And just kind of I because I play trombone, I'm like a articulation type guy. Like
Ah.
I'm like real particular about which note is short, which note is long, like all of that stuff, and I do that on bass. Yeah.
So both of you can read music, I assume, or
Oh,
probably have
definitely.
to, or you both have to read music probably for what you do, right?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I do a lot of studio sessions in town.
Ah, yeah.
That yeah. And I mean, Yano is an amazing songwriter and people want to see his stuff sometimes. So yeah.
And I have a feeling though that TJ, you're not a typical bass player where you just stand in one spot. I have a
Not
feeling
at
that
all.
you.
You should get out the way.
I just had a feeling you weren't going to be going. Boom.
No, nope.
That ain't you. That ain't you. So you guys kind of knew each other and Chawa and doing that thing, and then where was the catalyst to start the Rumble? How'd that kind of all come together?
Well, there were issues that we just could not resolve
Mm-hmm.
in Chawa.
Mm-hmm.
And it became a thing of we are writing this music and it's being recognized by members of the Recording Academy. So we shouldn't stop. But also we don't right now, we don't have the infrastructure. Just being we sat down. I remember we were watching a Monday night football game.
We all
And
remember
we
those
sat there and we
things, don't we?
talked and we were like, look, if we're gonna do this, this is what it's gonna take. Like, do we really want to do this? Oh, can we do this? I mean, we really had to sit there, but I think above all, we cared about like number one, preserving the culture, and also the fact that we knew that the product was good. So why
How
would
many was in the band at that time?
that would have been so that meeting was the six of us. So
Wow.
everyone in the band, not including Trent, our drummer.
Who
Uh,
filled in for the old drummer of Chawa, who was the owner and leader of Chawa.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So I will say one of the things was that on our last tour, the owner and leader of Chawa went home during the tour for some reasons, and they sent out Trent. And there were already, like I said, there were things that we were just kind of not bumping heads makes it
No,
sound
I understand. Being in as
yeah,
many bands as I've been in, I
yeah.
understand.
So you know what I'm
I got
saying?
it. I got it. Yeah.
But honestly, like playing with having Trent play with us also let us know that maybe we can, we can try this because I think one of the things was what obviously we have to find a drummer and
Kind of
someone who
important.
would know all of the songs that we're currently doing because we're
Yeah.
going to,
Well, and you were all doing originals, weren't you? I'm sure you're doing some covers. Most of
right,
them are all originals, weren't they?
Yeah.
exactly.
Majority.
So that was a thing.
Yeah, and so all of that combined with, I mean, we had touched on it, but like the concept of ownership and preserving the culture was like very important to all of us in the band, and especially
Yeah.
because it's a Mardi Gras Indian band, which is such a niche,
Oh yeah.
like a very small subset of even this small category of New Orleans culture, but it's like how do we present that to the world most authentically and most most true to what it needs to be.
Right.
And
So you guys were purists in what you did, is really what you're saying, in a certain
it's
degree.
so yeah, it's when you say the term purist, it sometimes then you think that it's like, oh, we're just a cultural legacy act, which
Oh
is
no, I
not.
don't mean that. I mean you
Yeah,
really
but like
believed in what you were doing and want to continue doing what you're doing.
100%. And yeah, because after we got to be so close with Chief Joseph and get to go and see an inside look into that culture for me at least, and more than half the band is from and of New Orleans and of that culture.
Right.
But like being able to, if you go out and if you're the face of Mardi Gras Indian music for the world to see, it's really important within that culture to be authentic to it and to be the best representative you can be.
Are you concerned about your financial health? Then why don't you count on an expert that has years of experience of helping people just like you reach their financial possibilities? That's David Smith with Edward Jones at 469-372-1587. David has years of experience of helping people just like you. So reach out to him today, 469-372-1587. David Smith with Edward Jones.
Because there is no big music infrastructure in New Orleans. There is no big like camera that's on everything that's going on, and so if someone's going to step out and do it, it could very easily be misconstrued or done improperly. And so when we felt like there was a possibility that it was being conveyed improperly back with Chawa as the biggest current Mardi Gras Indian band out there, it was really important to, especially Chief and, you know, members like Aurélien, our trumpet players in the Skull and Bones gang and all that too. It was really important that if we were going to start over and do it, that we really wanted to make sure we were doing it right.
So that's obviously, you said, okay, we got to start the Rumble. And that was what? It'll be 2 years ago in February, something like that? I think when you officially started?
Yeah.
And did you guys, so when it came to when you put the new band together, did you guys sit back and go, let's rehearse a lot before we come out? Or what? How did you do that? Or did you just start playing?
No, so we were fortunate enough to have a lot of people that we could have conversations with doing this, because we didn't want to go into it as just another band. We wanted to be successful at it. Yano has played, and I mean his resume is very extensive. So it was nothing for him to go and ask someone that he plays with all the time, like, hey, you know, what are some things that we should look out for? What are some things that we should try to do? And myself,
TJ's being modest too. He's got resume or not more than me.
But so I was playing with the Dirty Dozen brass band at the time, and them being 7 individuals, all of them having equal stake when they first started, and surviving. When I was playing with them, I played from year 40 to 45 or 41 to 46. So, I mean, them being together that long, I obviously was asking them like, hey, you know, how do we do this? There's 7. Yeah. What are some things? And one of the things that they said is, you guys already have your foot in the door, don't start over. So we were kind of aggressive about like, okay, we're probably going to get on some people's nerves, but we're hitting up people like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We're still here and we want to work, and we would like to not, you know, we're not necessarily looking to start from the bottom, just being honest.
Yeah. Well, you're all too good. Obviously, you're all great musicians. You know, come on. So when you know, that's part of it.
Yeah.
The cool thing that we had going for us is that we had written a lot of music for Chawa that was already put out on records and stuff, but we also had been working on, you know, a new record, and we wrote all that music, and Chawa hadn't really played a lot of it. So we took our songs, and yeah, I mean, like when you ask if we rehearse a lot, we actually had a standing rehearsal, still do, like every Wednesday at 11 a.m.
But what I was saying is you got together, did this, and then went out and then said, here were the Rumble. That's what I meant with that.
So we were lucky that we had a ton of kind of a backlog of music and history together, so that by the time we played our first show, we had 2 full sets of all original music that we wrote. And so, like TJ was saying, our big focus was actually on like the infrastructure and building the band, because we felt we were just picking up right where we left off with Chawa musically. So the thing that we really reached out to and worked on was actually like, how do we build this the right way?
So let's talk about your songwriting styles. How do you guys, with that many people, are there all of you write, or a couple of you do the thing and bring it in? And tell me a little bit how that works within. I mean, you're all good musicians, but all the above.
Yeah,
it's an idea and says
it's a talented band, man. I mean, it's like, who's got an idea right now? And you know, sometimes I'll just be like, I don't have anything to do. I'll call up TJ or call up Aurélien or Chief, whatever. And I'll be like, let's just get up and write a song, or I got an idea, whatever. We come together and we start writing a song. And that's anybody in the band at any moment might call up another member or two and start
So
writing.
You can kick off ideas with each other.
Exactly.
Great idea.
And it usually starts off between like 2 and 4 people, because if you have too many cooks, to start, unless some of our songs have just started from just jams and sound check or whatever.
You get a riff going and you kind of, I like that. Let's
exactly. But I think that it's because everyone has so many ideas and everyone's so creative that if they have I got this idea for a hook, I have this idea for a concept, whatever, you're like, who of the 7 of us would best fit this exact vibe that I'm going for, because everyone has different strengths. So in order to give this the strongest solid foundation, you call the person who might be able to meet the other part that you don't have yet. And then when you bring it to the rest of the band, you already got these great bones. You're putting on, building the walls, putting the artwork up, and and then it becomes a rumble song.
I'm envious of you guys because of the fact that you can do that. I mean, that's the one thing being able to do that in a band, because, it's like I talk to people about either going to recording and not playing live, or playing live a lot, not going to recording. And as you guys know, you've been in business long enough, the record thing is all changed dramatically now. You have to play live, and if you want to make any money and have that famous thing, merch. Everybody knows what that is. Did you buy your shirts tonight?
Yeah.
But to have that camaraderie is not easy. And the one thing I miss is going to the studio and just I never had that opportunity. I mean, just sit in with my other fellow musicians and say, okay, throw something in here. I'm stingy with my music to a certain degree. I want something to sound a certain way, but then if I brought something to you guys, I would go, okay, you put the bass in it, what you think, and you put the keys in it. Because your ideas are completely different, and that's what makes it work. And then when that collective energy you get, that you really get on stage, can translate when you're in the studio. Because some of you are sitting in the booth, some are around waiting for the things to go, and all of a sudden say, hey, but if that all comes together, and that's why I say I admire you for being able to do that and be able to hold it together, and then continue to do it.
I think one of the things that helps us is that we all, because we all have a resume of other bands we've played with or people we've studied with and all of that, there's a level of trust. So there have been times where...
That's funny you say trust. I was like, capital T, trust.
Yeah. Trust. Yeah, like there are times where Yano brings in a bass line and it may not be what I would play.
Right.
However, I also trust him enough to be like, he didn't just write these notes, you know what I'm saying? Because what they say like this, if he doesn't think it's hidden, but it's just like kind of the idea, he'd be like, bro, just change whatever you think. But then there are times where he brings in something and this is it. And even though it's something that I wouldn't necessarily play, I have to trust him enough because he had the original vision for the song to be able to go with that. And then generally what happens is it works, and then I add myself on top of it as we continue to play, and now we turn. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's what helps us, because there are plenty of times I can say where I may start off playing a bass line, and then they play a groove adding on top of it, and it wasn't what I expected at all. Like, furthest from what I was thinking in my mind, but also like the greatest thing. Like, yes. So I hope
that's the camaraderie and the trust you guys have. The hardest thing, I think, and I've talked to many songwriters, not being one myself, is to convey what's up here to everybody else. So when you said you trust him, but he hears it already. Yeah. He already knows what's going on in his head, and you can't really convey that. That's really hard to do.
Yeah, it also really helps. The way that we've been writing a lot lately is we've been getting and like making full demos of the songs as much as we can in our home studios. Right. So by the time we bring them to the band, they're like pretty fleshed out, and you can convey your idea. But oftentimes, like for instance, I can't play guitar, so I'll like write everything, but then I'll be like, Ari, I left everything there, whatever, everything's in there except the guitar, because like you got that, whatever. Right. But it really helps that we have this like technology where we can go and
Oh,
even
yeah.
like, MIDI in a horn idea or like whatever, to just convey that and have that there so they can, instead of trying to sing it to them or whatever, like I think it really helps.
It's funny because how much has changed. I mean, and I'm working with a country artist out of Nashville. Interviewed him recently, and he sent me a couple of tunes, and they're more funky blues. That's kind of kind of thing that I play. And he said, I said, well, can you send me the stems or track, whatever, buddy, stems or tracks or something like this? Well, I have to go to the producer. I said, never mind. I can just listen to the WAV file and add what I want to. But then I said, do you need horns in here? Well, yeah, I kind of hear some. Well, I live 10 minutes from one of the most great music schools, University of North Texas, which is, everybody knows about UNT.
Man, my former trombone professor is the jazz trombone professor there, Nick Finzer. Shout out to him. Yeah.
So I have a friend up there. She's a professor, and I said, hey, can you do something for me? Well, we can't do anything. We couldn't do that years ago.
Right.
And also, you guys didn't become semi-engineers because you can sit down, instead of going and taking this and going, here, I'll turn my amp on and I'll record a groove. Here you go, guys. Now you can sit and I think it's just changed that so much.
There are parts of the demos that like make the final track.
They do.
Yeah.
Especially like little synth layers or whatever, some background, but like they might end up just being already ready to go, which is pretty cool.
Well, you know what, I really, the reason I when I listen to music, the one thing I miss, my sister used to live in Gonzales years ago.
Okay.
Her husband he's retired now. He used to be in the oil business. What a surprise. The refineries there. And, I went a couple times Mardi Gras years ago and all that stuff. But the thing is, it's kind of like Nashville. New Orleans is a music town. And I miss, when I started listening to music the other day, I said, oh man, I miss that stuff. That upbeat stuff you guys do, that's always makes you feel good. You're not going to sit around and talk about, I lost my girlfriend, I lost my pickup truck, or we're going to do it, funk it up here. We're going to do what we can. You're not, from the moment we hit the stage, the moment we leave, you're going to be in a great mood. And that's what I like about what you guys do, because that's what you convey, and why not hear a band like that? Because you're going to go, if you're in a bad mood, you're going to, I'm feeling good now. And with the talent you have now, I noticed that one of you, that may have been the old band. Somebody went to Berkeley. I don't remember who that was.
That was the old band, yeah.
It was the old band, wasn't it? Yeah. Because when I see that on there and they've gone there, I went, okay, I know they've, must be pretty. I was with a guitar player back in Kansas City. He went to Berkeley, and he was a Stevie Ray when he could play Stevie note for note. It was scary. We started out playing a Stevie song. And of course, I can't sing like Stevie, but it's like nobody cared because it was like you can do all the other stuff. So now, what's the goal now? You got this great live album. When was that recorded? The live album. When was that done?
It was like
last December.
Yeah, it was a year ago.
So a year ago. Wow.
Yeah.
And so what's the gig? What's it going to be like for 2024? You guys, have you seen what's it going to be? Are you going to be just blowing and going?
Oh, I mean, it's we have a lot of dates that are going to be released. I mean, it's
cool.
It's a lot of in and out of New Orleans, which is great. Making sure that we're here for definitely the big cultural things like.
Oh yeah, you got the Jazz Fest. So you guys playing? I assume you're playing the Jazz Fest and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh, French Quarter Fest, those things, and then out and about. But really, I mean, we want to take this all around the world. That literally is our goal, because we're sharing not just Mardi Gras Indian culture, but just New Orleans. Like the way you said, you're gonna feel good. I mean, it could be a really bad day today. It really could be. And I might write about it. But at the end of the song, we're gonna feel good at some point. Like we're not sulking here, which is the beauty of the city and the beauty of the culture. No matter what happens here, There's always a party, some way, some shape or form, even if it's at your house with just you by yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always a good ending. So we love sharing that. That's what makes all of the hard stuff on the road. That's what makes it worth it.
Yeah.
Let's talk on that real quick. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say also for like tangible things. I mean, we're gonna be putting out another studio record, or our first studio record, I should say.
Have you already done it? You're finished with it?
It's like we're waiting on two more things, and then
okay. But I mean, you're almost done with it.
Almost.
Pretty close to being done. We're excited about that. Then we already, we have a bunch of new material that hopefully we're gonna probably record before the end of next year. Record the next studio record.
Wow.
We're hoping, with any luck, we might have a little gramophone
hardware to take home.
Yeah. So,
have any of you won a Grammy? Either one of you won a Grammy?
I don't think so.
Nominated previously, also.
Yeah.
So this will be a collective first. We got like 20 nominations between the band.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I saw that. So, so the question is, when the date is, which is in March, I think, or when did they do that? February, March, when I don't
February
remember.
4th?
Yeah. Not that we're counting or anything.
No. If I was in your position, I'd go, okay. Somebody says, okay, who's going to be the one that gets up there and talks? Because you can't all six, you have like the minute. So you have to get together. Those are all things you sit around and go, well, do we really want to talk about that? Because that's like assuming we're going to win. And if we don't really talk about it, maybe...
Yeah, you don't want to jinx it. Yeah.
Don't think, should I write it? No, don't.
Like, all good conversations, but hard.
Yes, all good conversations. Before I end up wrapping this thing up real quick, too, is the fact, how do you guys, because this is something that we talked about at the beginning, but how do you balance that with your regular life? I mean, one of you's got a fiance and the other one's got a kid. So,
yeah, I mean, it's really a matter of us, the same way we have to trust everybody musically, we have to think about everybody. Like, just because something that I perceive as great comes down the pipeline, if it's during, Yano's wedding weekend, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, I'm at the wedding, you know what I'm saying? Because he's only going to get married once. So
you hope.
So you know what I'm saying? But we have to think like that. I have a child, Chief has children, Jose, a trombone player, has children. So we kind of have to think like that because we, truthfully, and I say this now that I'm a parent, and it's amazing to me about the greats. Like I said, my degrees in jazz studies, so just think about the jazz greats that came before us. All of their children, I doubt that any one of them cared about their accolades. They cared about that's my dad, that's my mom. Period.
Well, that's what the funny thing about it, isn't it really what you do it for to a certain degree? You love what you do, but you want to have someone some bodies in your life that goes, it does make you feel great. It's almost like you've accomplished what you wanted to do. The accolades are great. There's nothing better than getting a standing O and you get through playing and all that good stuff. But you're looking out there going, is that my mama? She's... And she's going, see that guy up there? That's my son.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So being home for those things. So we think about those,
So before we wrap up, tell me what you want people to know about the Rumble.
Go ahead, Yano. I'm going to
go. I think just that the Rumble, hearing the Rumble or seeing the Rumble is something that you can really only get unless you go into New Orleans and you spend time there, and this is a glimpse into some of the underculture of New Orleans that isn't necessarily shown to the rest of the world, and it's really special even for being in New Orleans. So if you get a chance to see us or hear us outside of New Orleans, it's like bringing a little piece of that guys that I think is really special.
Well, that's it for this episode of The Trout Show. Thank you so much for stopping by and listening. A very special thank you to the guys from The Rumble. And if you want to know more information about that great band from New Orleans, you can go to their website at therumbleband.com. And wish them all the luck for their upcoming opportunity maybe to win a Grammy. Also, very special thanks to David Smith with Edward Jones, who's continued to just support this show during this season and seasons before that. Special shout out to all of you that are listening this year. And if you're brand new, thank you for stopping by. If you're a person who's listened to a lot of the different episodes, thank you. This is our 69th episode for the Trout Show for 2023. And also, I just got information that we are heard in 49 countries across the world. Thank you all for listening. And remember, for more information about the Trout Show, go to our website at thetroutshow.com. You'll find everything you need to know about our YouTube, podcast, and everything that's coming up. And I want to tell you, next year, we've got some exciting guests lined up already. More Grammy nominees. Yes, sir. So from me to you, thanks again for listening to The Trout Show. Have a wonderful holiday season. And as I always say, it's only rock and roll, but I love it. See ya.